Alexa, all lights off.
Good morning and welcome to Rise and Shine Sundays. My name is Jamie Rich. I am your host and guide on the side for this particular session of Rise and Shine Sundays. We're delighted that you're here. What you're about to experience is a little different. We are not a podcast. We are not sages on stages who are going to come up with answers to share. We gather each week at this time because we want to see what emerges from you as a participant, as someone who's listening to this particular broadcast, as someone who is interested in discussing a question that we build our conversations around. And this particular week, this is our question for the week. With a lot of things that are going on in the world right now, just for us personally and with us in terms of the collective, there's a really important question that seems to be on a lot of people's minds is that we're kind of walking between two worlds right now. And we know that we have a felt sense about what we'd like to see happen, what we'd like to see emerge. But oftentimes we don't have all the answers to begin that journey. So the question that we are asking this week and are inviting your participation in is the answer to the question of, can you build a bridge while walking on it? So again, this is a little bit different of an experience. If you are watching us live on YouTube, please feel free to put your comments in the chat there, and we will incorporate those into the conversation as we go. I'm delighted that this week we have some extra special guests with us. And we're back.
Yeah.
I think we're just going to have theme show music that's going to randomly appear.
Whatever works.
With us today is, as part of Rise and Shine Sundays, are two wonderful people that I've had the pleasure of getting to know through this forum. To my left is Ray Guillot. Ray is from Canada. And Ray, you want to introduce yourself and welcome yourself to Rise and Shine Sundays?
Would you like a weather report or just?
Sure.
I'm in the middle of Canada and it's brutally cold, but we're sharing that with the rest of North America. So we're great sharers and happy to be here, happy to share with friends and soon to be friends in chat and YouTube and anywhere else in the world.
Right. And also with us is my good friend Sang. And so Sang, tell our listeners a little bit about you and we'll get going.
Look, I'm just going to keep this super simple. I could tell you all the things, but really I'm just a girl with a voice.
I love that. I love that. We were talking a little bit right before the show started, the three of us were. And one of the things that I appreciate about you saying is that I've actually had the pleasure of meeting you in person as well. So I can say that this is not just a persona that comes across on the internet. There is a real person with a lived experience who is a real champion of her own life and is that kind of strong presence for others. And so I'm really grateful that as we're looking at this question this week, a lot of us have had to do that idea of building a bridge while walking on it. We started out this year kind of wanting to make sure that we could go into the correct closing sequence. You know, everybody rushes at the beginning of the year to start something. And oftentimes, you know, what we talked about the last couple of episodes has been oftentimes people will try to just realign things. They say, well, I'm going to do something new in the new year, but all they're doing is doing what they did before in a new way, right? And so if we're talking a little bit about, well, wait, if we've made that decision, we're really clear on what we're closing, the sequence that we're leaving behind, it couldn't be more, clear but can you move into something without having it all figured out? And I think that's a big question. So I see that we have Jessica in the chat, and anybody else would like to say hello, please do. But saying your responses to that whole idea of can you move into something new without having it all figured out first?
Isn't that what we're doing? Like, I don't know. If somebody had given me the book of life, I must have missed it. Right, to have it all figured out. I will say one of the most challenging things I think is teaching others. For myself, I have a son and a daughter, and so being able to teach them how to live a life where you have to decide, you have to look at what's around you, you have to be cognizant of self in order to put yourself in places and create opportunities for yourself because you are building your own bridge.
Hmm. Hmm.
Sometimes you may burn the bridge too, though, don't get me wrong. Sometimes you burn the bridge down, and then you've gotta rebuild it, it's okay.
Well, and I'm really grateful because you threw down something already, which is what I lovingly refer to as mom energy, right? Because there is that decision. It's great if we all had a mom that could kind of correctly parent us through things. But many of us grew up without those particular models in terms of tackling a new adventure, right?
Mhm,
And you want to, if if you are going to build a new bridge in your own life, and
mhm.
if you could be that parental wonderful voice that you have inside your head, are there particular messages that you can give so that you can say, well, look, I know you're going to go out and have some great adventures on your own. Like I grew up in a generation where my mother said, be careful out there. The world is a terrible place and you have to be prepared. But, what I love is that I actually have seen some mothers that said, hey, go out and have some really great adventures today. Um,
Yeah,
can you speak
yeah.
a little bit to that? Is that helpful?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Here's the thing, when I became a mom, one of the things I wanted to do, also based on my childhood, which we're not gonna get into, is I wanted to provide a place where my kids could come and talk about anything. Right? They could talk because did not want them learning anything from anyone else other than me. And I'm not saying I was controlling like that, but if they found something out in the world and they came back and wanted to know how this worked, or you wanted to know how this worked, come ask me because I've probably done it. I've probably been in it. I've probably somehow whatever. And I'm here to guide you. I'm not here to direct your life. I'm not here to make you do certain things. Now, granted, with mom, there's certain things that whatever. You got to do the dishes, okay? But I'm here to guide you. Your voice is your voice. You get to be who you are. I'm here to create the container, the safe container for you. And so when you said, I'll be your mom, Jamie, if you need me to, but I look at it as I'm everybody's mom, right? Like I just can see and there's certain things my kids have been able to come to me and say something. My daughter said something to me once where she's also able to say what she needs to say to me respectfully because that's huge. Communication was huge to and being accountable, right? All of those things were things that I wanted to instill in my children. And lots of things shifted along the way and they remember certain things, like so even today, like even when I went with my son a couple months ago to get a car and the sales guy was just the way they were talking, they were just like, oh, well, moms tell you what to do. And, I was like, oh, no, no, I guide him. I don't tell him what to do. Because trust me, he didn't do what I told him to do, whatever. But you know what I'm saying? But it happens. You got to give them the power of choice.
I,
And
I
we all
feel.
have
Go
power.
ahead. Well, I feel like we should be like have a secret word duck that it pops down like the old Groucho Marx show, because you've already said two rise and shine words that are really, really sort of
Word
integral to what we do. I need to get that graphic in. Ray, do you want to talk to that those magic words
Oh,
that you spoke to?
I just love what you shared saying. I grew up in a different background where I
Mhm.
would have loved to have you as a mom
I
and
can be
as a
your mom.
parent that essentially said you have to make your own choices. Says you're the boss of you. Um, as opposed to what I got was behave, follow the rules.
Yeah.
And
and trust me, it started off a little bit that way, and there were some definite key moments that I'm working on in a book later on, that identify those for sure.
yeah, and I think it's such a you mentioned creating the container, the
Mhm,
environment, the space to have communication. I think that's the essential I think context to set is if you can't have communication, then things are obviously going to go off the rails, or you're never going to really understand what others are thinking and doing.
Right.
yes.
So those secret words that you magically came up with, one was guide, right? That your role is to really to be there to guide, to create the correct container, right? For that guidance to happen, right?
Mhm.
So you get extra points. And I want to talk to something that, oops, I changed the wrong, put the wrong comment in, but hugs
Ollie,
from Ollie
big
Ollie's
hug,
in the room.
big hug
because
from
the old
everybody.
man hit the wrong button. But I want to talk a little bit about we could backtrack for just a second with something that Jessica talked about, which was um, as usual, we were going back to the question of can we build this bridge moving
Mhm,
forward, right? Um, uh, what are the consequences if the bridge isn't stable? And so, to me, part of what Sang is talking about is what adds in the stability. Because we'll talk about that, and I didn't want that comment to just slip by because it's through recognizing your role. If you are a parent or if you are going on a journey with other people, that idea of guidance, not only for yourself but for others, and then being able to have the correct container, knowing that when you took your son to the dealership, you were there as that safety point, that reference point, but you still had to make the decision. So in other words, you were the ally in that moment, and that please feel free to interject because I can see nodding, but you understand sort of what I'm saying, the difference between um, just um, when my husband and I went through the immigration process,
mhm,
we had an attorney who just sat behind us. And she was able to, she didn't say anything, but her presence there allowed us to have that stability to move forward.
mhm. So I love that Jessica asked this question. If they are, what are it
Oh,
went away.
sorry.
What are the questions if the bridge isn't stable? So I love that she asked that because then I ask questions back to people. And the question then becomes, if you are the bridge builder, why is the bridge unstable? So that goes back to accountability for what tools we're using to build the bridge. What social media platforms are we hanging out on that are not building our bridge properly? What things are we doing time over time that we think we're being productive, but we're not actually building the bridge? What happens when we get a sneaky rotten bridge, a piece of brick in there for our bridge? Then what do we do, right? So
Hmm.
there's so many different ways to, again, I always ask questions to everyone to think back to self, right? To because I just like I tell my children, they have the answers. It's just here I'm here to ask them the questions to pull it out of them so they can see it for whatever path you're on. And I will say being a mom and watching your children, you can see the path they're going on. And I'm not saying any bad paths. My kids are not on bad paths or but you can see a path, good or bad, or maybe a little bumpy. But to sit there as a mom and know what's about to happen, and you just have to watch because they've made a choice, right? And I do let my kids know, like, I'm always gonna be here to help you pick up the pieces and figure it out the next time. I'm not gonna do it for you.
No, beautifully said. Beautifully said.
I like what you've introduced is
Thank
by asking questions,
Yes.
you're immediately requiring some kind of thinking process to occur internally. So
Mhm.
self-reflection is a tool and a
Mhm.
mind
Mhm.
skill that needs to be developed. We don't immediately figure out, oh geez, maybe I should be thinking about why I did that or what
Mhm.
happened when I did that. So I think the self-reflection
Mhm.
and the back to the stability of the bridge, what you shared saying is is are my behaviors and the external factors that I didn't consider a
Mhm.
part of the instability. So there again, back into inquiry and
Right.
thinking about what's going on internally and externally.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that goes back again to what Ray is talking about, of having the correct container when you are building the bridge for the inquiry and the stability to sort of be there at the same time. Because
Mhm.
oftentimes, just like we were saying before, we use a term around here saying called modernity to sort of talk about the status quo. The status quo really wants you to have the business plan, everything all figured out. Every kid should know what they want to do their junior year in high school. What's the plan? Where are we going? You'd only get a chance to go around once in this life. You can't screw it up. You've got to get it right. And so if you dare then to allow people to um, guide them, right? Part of guidance is inherently the journey where you're the check-in point. If you're going with someone as a guide, it's their experience, but you're there to help them with those questions. So it's almost, again, weaving back what Ray had said. Um, you know, when you do have all of those, you need to provide a space for that um, guidance to happen. It's not
Mhm.
just like, I mean, sometimes you have to give somebody a list, but they're still guiding things. But I'm sure you sit down with your kids, even in those situations, and you have an opportunity to let them talk about their
Mhm.
process of their own self discovery, as
Yeah.
opposed to tell me what the answer is. Do you
Yeah.
understand the difference that I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, because I can tell you right now, I failed 900 and 250,000 times already, if that's what you wanna call it, but I don't call it that, right? These are literally just little bumps in the road that have happened, and for me, it's learning to adjust because we learn from early on in childhood, right? In school, we have to have this outline, and it has to be done this way, and it has to be turned in this way, so that's been instilled in us since the beginning of time. So naturally, we need to have it finished. And if we don't follow each individual step, we will not be successful. And if we are not successful, then we have failed. So
Mhm.
then, but is it really the system? No, it's you get to decide what you take in. Now, I get it. It's children. We're talking about things like that. But as you get older, you get more experience.
Right.
Ask questions.
Right. And there's some good conversation going on in the chat right now. I wanted to bring in what Lauren was talking about. It's in response to some other conversations that's been going on. Is there stability, right? But the intent, we have to understand that intention is not a goal. Do you know what I mean? When
Mhm.
when when we're the stability to be able to say what is your intention and ask questions, it's of who we are and what we do and how we do it, all of those things that you're asking about, and recognizing that it's part of movie, that process which modernity wants to label like you should have everything all figured out. You're not allowed to ask questions at this point, right? um and I mean, how many times have we heard that? And you've made a decision. Why don't you just stick to it, right? Or you're stuck with that answer. And all of those things, all of that messaging, and again, saying, I know you never received any of this messaging at all. It was
Yeah.
something invented. But seriously, I don't mean to be trivial about it, because what creates these frozen moments is the idea that you cannot question your guide
Yeah.
while you're taking a journey.
Uh-huh.
You
Well, can I just interject here? I was going to say it like this. If you think about if you're going on a vacation and you have a tour guide, are you asking them which direction you need to go? No. They're telling you which way to go. They're answering your questions. Just let them be the guide. And I want to say something, Jamie, because I'm really, really particular about words. Okay.
Yeah.
I noticed that you kept saying the correct container. Um, I would say the container that works for you, right? Because it's whatever works for that person. There's no incorrect or correct one to me, in my opinion, just for me, because because we have this tendency. I don't know, the modernity, is that what you called it?
Yeah. Well, you can say
Wait,
status quo. We love words around here,
wait,
so
I love
keep
it
rolling.
because I've been defying the status quo since the beginning, since I was born, I'm sure. Ask my dad. Is that but really putting to where even when we're talking in our day to day, how much people automatically place either judgment on themselves so that other people judge them too, or that you judge other people based off of their correct or their correct statement or incorrect statement or anything like that. I understand what you're saying, and I understand that it's hard to unlearn the 5 million things we've been learning since
Right.
we were zero.
I think
This might
that's
be. Go ahead,
yeah.
Ray. Pop
I was
in.
just going to say that adds to the bridge crossing and the bridge development process is um, you surfaced a very important part. We really should be aware that unlearning is part of it.
Hmm.
Mhm,
Is that if something is not working or is not leading you where you should go, just because it's the status quo doesn't
Right.
mean you should follow it. So the
Right.
learning unlearning aspect of what should we be doing or where should we be what's our next thinking process. So yeah, unlearning.
and
Right.
here's my favorite answer to that. What do you want to do? The famous question from The Notebook when he's yelling at her, "What do you want?" She's like, "I don't know." And he's like, "What do you want?" My sister-in-law reminds me that every time. But it is one of the hardest questions to continuously ask yourself
Yeah.
and really ask yourself, and then the thing is, be honest. What do you want? If you don't wanna go to the meeting, don't go.
Right.
Right? If
Right.
you don't wanna do it, don't do it. Listen, I am an advocate. I've been in these spaces, I've been in and Jamie's probably seen me, I've been in online spaces, and I'll tell people straight up, "I'm not talking today," or I will tell it's like that thing, you teach people how to treat you. Nobody ever taught us how to, right? So then it comes I go on a whole tangent, so I'm gonna be quiet.
No, 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 no problem.
Oh no, no.
There, there's some new people in the chat, so I want to.
Oh, I love it.
I want to let people know that here on this particular episode, we're focusing on a question, and your comments and the chats and the things that you're doing are really important.
Yep.
And we incorporate those into the discussions that we're having. So today's question is: can you build a bridge while walking on it? We're back here in the circle then, having this
Mhm,
conversation about what's emerging there. So it's clear that we've talked about the idea of being willing to have the container that's right for you, right?
mhm,
And to
mhm,
recognize that it's okay not to have everything all figured out, right?
mhm,
And
mhm,
to use the idea of guidance as you're moving, right? So I want to talk a little bit about there's a difference between having an intention, let me make sure I enunciate that correctly, and a detailed map. And I don't know if anyone wants to speak to this in the chat, but oftentimes we feel like we have to have that detailed map, right? Um,
yeah.
Before we begin. And oftentimes what that does is it leads us to start a sequence where we're not questioning each step as we go, because something new may be emerging. So Ray, you want to speak to that?
Well, it's interesting as everybody talks about in in rigid structures. There's the value is the map.
Hmm.
But what is a map? The thing I don't know who said it first, but the map is not the territory.
Right.
So
Mhm,
life is not a map. It's not linear. And what is saying has been saying all along is you have to be open, you have to question, you have to try, you have to experiment, and you have to learn and unlearn through that whole process. So the map is what is it? What did they say? It's a suggestion.
well, I'm gonna go back. So I'm just gonna jump in. I'm jumping in. Okay,
Go
it's what I
ahead.
do. It's what I do, guys. Is Jessica, who's in the comments, right, reminded me of something last week. And you think of it like this: there may be this map, right? There may be this end destination that you want to go to, right? Like I have a destination in mind where I want to go. I also could probably sit here and tell you all the things that I said I wanted as a little girl, and they're slowly coming true right now. Okay. But think of it as when you put an address in Google Maps or whatever map system you use, Waze, Apple, whatever you use, right? And you make a wrong turn or you miss an exit, right? Think of that as your bump or somebody da 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 da. What does the map do? It says, oh, da da da, but you got to go on this little view before you can get back on the right track, whatever the right track is for you. So you think of it the same way,
Right.
right? If you get off kilter, you just gotta.
Right. Well,
It's
so that
memory.
we to and building right on that though, the bridge kind of reveals itself as you walk on it, right?
Mhm.
And what people don't miss is they're still stuck in their plan, right? And oftentimes, even the plan that I had for this particular Sunday morning gathering, if I had stuck to what I had thought, well, I need to have a plan, and I submitted it, and this is what it's going to look like. I would have missed all of the wonderful things that emerge, right? But here's the
Mhm.
thing I want to say, and let's be honest about it. It's very uncomfortable
Mhm.
to not be certain. And
Absolutely.
so that is a skill. We'll go back to everyone should have sang as a mother, and then you will understand how to
Listen,
deal with your discomfort. And seriously, I don't mean to make light of it because I use humor a lot, but I think that that's also something that we're not taught. Modernity wants us to satisfy every need, right? If you're upset, here's a cookie. If you're upset, there's another option. But sometimes you have to live in that discomfort because that's where something good emerges.
yeah, yeah, yep, absolutely. Yeah, go on for days. There's so many things, right? Like, um, and it's all again going back to what you want. And I think that's the other piece is also realizing that people. And I know so I'm a real stickler. Jessica knows this in the comments. Lorene does too. Hi, Lorene. I see you out there. Is I'm the one that just I will look at it and go, okay, yeah, I don't want to do that, right? But you have to realize other people don't want to do things either. But when you decided to make that about you, when they don't want to do something, or they don't want to talk about something, or they can't hold a boundary you've asked them to hold, that's their mess. But a
Yeah.
lot of times we want to take that on, which then hinders our bridge building.
Yeah. Let me
Okay.
Let me bring something in from the chat too, from this person that I'm sure none of us know who this is. But but not everyone does follow a map. Some create it, right? But everybody needs something steady to work from. And that's why the right environments don't direct, they steady, right? Which is, we were speaking to that earlier by being able to know where that stability moment, to know where it's okay to take steps in the process to make sure that you're safe before moving on. And only, just like you were talking about before, only you can decide what that is, right? Your plan that you created 10 weeks ago
Mhm.
may not be the sense of security. It's you really have to be able to be in the moment on the bridge to sort of
Yeah.
know that you're okay.
Everybody's listen, here's the thing. Everybody is their own master of their own life. Like I've been telling people for a long time, I love it here. I love my life. My life is great. If I told you all the stories, you might not think it should be,
Yeah.
right? But
Right.
I created this. I created the life I get to live. And so and again, there if you it's that it's still going back to unlearning so much.
Yeah. Lauren has a wonderful thing that maybe that we might want to take a look at here. Um, is who is wanting, right? The who parented, wounded, compensating, proving, unlearning is
Absolutely.
shit. Go ahead. Do
Yeah.
you want to speak to this?
Oh yeah. I mean, Lorene and I have been friends. We'll be 10 years in November. Okay. We've been through some things.
You,
Okay. She
you,
has been with me through some conversations. Okay. Yeah, it's absolutely right. Cause she's been with me to ask me, "Well, who's asking that? Where's that coming up in your past?" Right? You've got to also have those people in your circle who are willing to ask you those hard questions. I won't tell everybody the question yet. What Lorene asked me one day that stopped me in my tracks. I know she's laughing right now as she hears this. But you've got to have those friends in your circle too, or colleagues or whatever, who are going to stop you and ask you, "Yo, are you tired of doing this yet?"
I'm with you.
Because we may not as when we're in it, it's just like being
Yeah.
in different types of relationships. You're not able to see what's happening when you're in it. Other people can, and is my friend willing to stop and say, "Hey, Is this really the direction you want to go in right now? Like, I'm
Mhm.
asking you as a friend because I care about you.
And do I want to give her the guidance leadership medal right now? Or but that's the difference between telling someone and
Yeah.
creating, like we were talking about, the container for people to discover it with you. It's
Yes.
really important. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago. Who's going with you on the journey? You
Yeah.
sometimes have to do that inventory check because not everybody can see you, right?
Mhm.
And I think that's Ray. Do you want to hop in on this?
Well, I think what's surfacing and is part of the thing is it's a co-creative process. The
Yes.
minute it becomes unidirectional, it's telling, it's giving you a rigid answer. But I love what you shared saying is that it's by asking the right question with intent and
Mhm.
with love,
Yes.
uh, is it acts as a new way to look at yourself
Oh,
and to
absolutely.
and to share something that that is such a gift. Like wow, like having somebody care that much to
Mhm.
say, "Hey, have you thought about it?"
Well, and we also have another truth bomb in the chat, right? Where Stacy says, creating the map is hard sometimes, even when you know you're safe.
Amen. Because I don't know how many of you have been with me on my journey this far. Sorry, I had to say that one. because, because if anybody, and again, this is stuff I'm going to talk about eventually. I'm not here yet, but I've literally for the like your body reacts, right? Your body reacts to emotions. It's living in my body. Your body talks to you. Your body does this. My body has never felt safe. It still doesn't yet. It's getting there because when I think about what I've been through, and it's not, and again, it's not what I've experienced. I'm going to say that what I've experienced,
Yeah,
and if I go back and look at each stage, because we look at life and we go, oh, we make it one big thing, but you've got to break those down into small chunks. What? Yeah, 2013, worst year of my life. Thought out first time in my life as an adult, I couldn't pay my rent. I thought I was going to die. Right. And so, like, but what does safe look like to you? And I will say this: there was a Pastor Don asked me. He's based in Kansas City, and he asked me a question over the summer. And he says, what is your first remembrance? What was your first memory of feeling safe and loved? And it took me 3 weeks to answer that question.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it took me back to when I was 3 years old. And then what I did was I went and took out pictures and I started looking at pictures of myself as I got older and I was looking at my eyes. And you can see in my eyes as a child, it was not a happy childhood.
Right.
Right? You can see it, and it's very. And I'm not trying to go heavy here, but it's again because it's about recognition. I'm not heavy. I don't need you to be heavy, okay? But it's recognizing that. But when he asked, it took me 3 weeks, and it's not a question that you can like. We don't need to have the answers right away either.
yeah,
Right.
absolutely. And I like the fact that you mentioned it took you a period of time
Oh yeah.
to build up and to for the brain to actually figure something out
Mm-hmm.
rather than like we're so impatient these days,
Mm-hmm.
but something
Mm-hmm.
like that has to come from the inside like you just described.
Yeah. I,
Mm-hmm.
I love what's emerging here. I know there's some new people that are joining us in the chat. I want to remind you that this like it's printed, this edition of Rise and Shine Sundays
Yeah.
is about can you build a bridge while walking on it? And we're talking about this. One of the things, you're in the presence of some very hyper verbal people, but we know that that's not how everybody receives information. So we're going to switch a little bit to some infographics that'll help us maybe anchor some things and pull some things out in the chat for you to see what's emerging. So we're going to switch a little bit to a conversation about building the bridge while walking on it. We're navigating that friction zone between the old story about us and the new one. So
Mm-hmm.
going back to Stacy's comment from before, which was it's hard. I mean, It just is. Buying your first car, even with your mom sitting there in the room with you, the example that Sang was using earlier, it's hard. That's why, going back to what Ray had said, when you're making these choices, right, you've got to be able to fully embody whatever that choice is, right?
At that
So,
time. Mm-hmm.
yeah, please
I'm
feel
gonna
free.
I'm going to add that at that time, because you're not married to the answer to that question. That question, the answer to that question is always allowed to shift.
Right,
Okay.
right. So we are kind of living, when we're moving on this bridge, we're living between those two worlds, right? What is emerging out of us and what the experience that we've been through, and that push and that pull, it's there. And you know, to think that, it would be great if somebody could make those decisions for me. It would be great if I had all of the answers figured out. But when you embark on this, you are literally living between those two worlds, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the old story, is based on the evidences that you had in the past, right? So if I look at some of the 6 things that I did, I can say, well, it's like your resume, right? When you can say, well, what I did in my past, it all looks like this. It stacks up. It's a transactional, extraction based. It's based on credentials. It's what you did. It's what you didn't do, right? But your new story is relational. It emerges from your lived experience and the relationships that you're forging forward. Does that trigger anything for anyone here?
Oh yeah.
What we call the deeply felt, the deeply
Mm-hmm.
felt.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I want to make sure we
so
get through the slides.
yeah, well, no, these are wonderful things. Ray puts these together based on some of the concepts that we have. Ray, do you want to speak to this?
Well, I'm going to tie in the last statement at the bottom to what Sang has already shared. You cannot wait for someone else.
Oops.
This is about you uh, and the guiding process, right?
Uh-huh.
So, like, it's not somebody else's responsibility; it's yours.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So here's the other thing that we've talked about before, which is that we know where we are heading, a new career, a life transition, a creative work, but we don't see the steps. We have the directions, but we don't yet see the steps. And we can write a plan. We can go to chat. What did you were calling it before? We can go to, the GPS device, right? And it can tell us based on the map how we're going to get there. But those aren't necessarily the steps, right?
Correct.
And there may be some changes that need to be made along the way. Oh, look, what's on the side of the road. I may want to go in that direction, right?
Well, I think going back to that, I'm going to chime in real fast. So when we think about people who make resolutions, we think about this big picture, right?
Yeah.
But we don't think about the fact that we need to put our shoes on, we need to put our socks on, we need to do this. So we need to scale. So I don't want to say need. I don't like that. What I invite people to do is scale back, and what are the small things I want to do? I want to do to get me to where I want to go. So if I want to go to the gym, let's just start with going to the gym, right? And kind of break it down in those baby steps. So we get a big thing and we run, and there's no many steps.
Right.
I just want to add one thing that I saw that actually is quite funny. Is I was looking into behavioral science,
Mm-hmm.
and the case study that they used is exactly what Sang just shared. Says they did an analysis. Why do people not go jogging when they have the intent of jogging with their New Year's resolution or whatever? So they
Mm-hmm.
essentially boiled it down to those small steps. They said the best way to actually fulfill that was to put your sneakers, your running shoes by the door.
Yeah, James
Because it,
Clear talks about it in Atomic Habits too,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yep.
exactly. Is it's the visual trigger.
I'm learning from Jessica. I've learned from Jessica, from Stacy, from Ollie, from Dr. CK, and the groups that I'm in, the co-working groups. Like, they've really made me realize, even though I've been doing that, and I want to say something very key, Ray. What's been very interesting for me for the last 6 months, because of my lived experience, and I have this huge is that what I've uncovered is that as I share these things, who knew there were studies that people have done about it?
Yes, there's a study for everything.
Listen, and the thing is, I wanted to be a doctor, right? Like it's little. I wanted to have my not PhD, but like whatever, because it's just a thing I want, right? And so as I've shared these things, and I start looking, and now you've said it, so it solidifies, and I just feel like my lived experience is real,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
right? Like that's how I felt about it. And I want to share something really quickly about. I want to make sure because I can talk forever, Jamie. So you do
I
have to.
understand that.
But there is something that on the one about you have to the slide that Ray talked about where the old and the new, right? Yeah. The question at the bottom, right?
Yeah.
You
Oh,
can't wait
right
for
here.
someone
Sorry.
you can't wait for someone else to build the past. I'm gonna share this really quick story because it's super huge, and for whatever reason I'm feeling the need to share it today. And I'm nervous, so just give me a second. Um so I've not had a good relationship with my dad. Okay. And I did the last I remember love and safety was when I was 3. I remember being snatched from my love and safety, not once, not twice, but several times by my father, as an adult. And at one point, all I ever wanted my father was do was to tell me he was proud of me. I fought so hard. You just want those people to say something. Then that's the thing that you're doing. And then it probably took me, I don't know, 15, 20 years, maybe more before I was like, he just ain't going to do it. And he has no idea all the stuff that I've done. Right. And so what happened was very monumental last May. My niece Bailey graduated from high school. And I was coming, my sister-in-law and I were coming back home. And my dad would go over to my brother's house. Well, I just don't want to be around the energy of my dad, and I just don't want to answer the questions. I just didn't want it. And my brother respected that, but I also respected his house, right? Like whatever. So my dad was pulling out of the driveway with his wife, and he gets out of the car and he walks over. And I don't get out of the car because I'm like, I'm not getting out of the car. Why I got to get out of the car? And I rolled down the window and he hugged me through the window, right? It wasn't until 3 months later. There's always a thing with me, okay? I don't know what it's about, threes and sixes and nines, but those are the things for me. 3 months later, I was sitting here and I go, holy guacamole. He wanted to hug me for the first time that I can remember. And I've been sitting with that. I haven't done anything with it yet, but I've been sitting with it, right? And to realize that shifted so much in me and how I see and really pay attention. And people show up and they're not showing up because they may not even want to show up that way, right? But you don't have to receive it. But it's then asking, like, but when you genuinely feel someone wants to do something, and it was huge for that man to do that. And I haven't written anything to him yet, but the plan is there. The intention is there, like we were talking about. But do I need him to tell me he's proud of me anymore? Absolutely not. Right? Like, I'm proud of me. Be proud of me.
And we're proud of you too for sharing that story. There's also, if you glance over in the chat, others that feel the same. That's the invitation when you are building a bridge is to, get to that point where you are sharing your story, right? And, we use this as a little bit of a litmus test when you're on that journey, right? Am I safe right here? And even though, it took 3 months, right, for you to sort of process that out, right? It's part of the question of being able to be okay with yourself, of using self verification as the litmus test. I think it's really important that even though you read, Joe Blow's book about, how you should recover and heal this, or how, Mary Jones's method of building your business, it's okay to ask yourself, am I safe here right now in this step? Because as we were talking about earlier about building the bridge, a safe bridge is safe and stable because you've been building it as you go, right?
Yeah.
you can glance back for your foundation, right? But you're not walking backwards. It's okay to stay in this moment, right? Whether that's a new business idea, something that you're looking at, right?
Mhm.
Um, because we're not waiting for the proof of concept. You're not waiting for your dad to give you some, you're the living embodiment of your own concept. And that self verification, whether that's starting a business, healing a relationship, moving away from something that's broken, you're the living embodiment of that concept as you move forward. And it's your choice, right? So
Mhm.
I'm moving you over here, Ray, just because I want everybody to see. Um, we have to remind ourselves the bridge reveals itself as we walk, and emergence is not perfection. Emergence is not perfection,
How
right?
fitting. I'll just meet everyone at the bottom of the stairs, and I'll walk with you up the stairs. That's what I see right here
Yeah.
in this visual. Thank you, Jamie.
Yeah. No, well, thank Ray. He draws all of these by hand.
It looks like he does. I thought that's what he was doing with his little paintbrush when I first
Right, right,
saw him.
right. Well, in Canada, it's cold up there, and there's not a lot that you can get done. But this goes back to something Stacy and some of the other people have been talking about.
Oh,
It's sitting with that uncertainty. It's that messy middle part that a lot of us find out. It's like new factors are emerging, and just like you were talking about earlier with the GPS, there's the
sure.
recalibrating, recalibrating,
Yeah.
recalibrating.
Yeah.
So
Well, let's take a pause. Just pause. Just go sit down somewhere. I was the mom who told my kid at my daughter, and she'll tell you this day. I'll still tell her right now. She's 25. Go take a nap, dude. Like, just go take a nap. And who's telling their parents to telling their kids to go take a nap at grown-ups? I will tell them, go take a nap. Just pause.
let me bring us back to this scene. I know that there's some people who have been writing some things in the chat. So again, part of our show, our experience here, is to see what emerges. And we've been talking today about the whole concepts behind building a bridge while we're walking on it. Um, and one of the things that seems to be emerging is a question that to ask yourself along the way while you're finding these safety moments is, how does this feel in your body?
Mhm.
Our mind read a book, and our mind can do really interesting things, and it can say, well, I read it in the book that I'm supposed to move to step 6 right now. But how's that
Mhm.
feel in your body?
Mm. Mm. I'm gonna add to that. The other day, again, I will tell you right now. So you probably did say issue, this latest issue, because I do tell people I have more stories than Reader's Digest. It is a fact. Okay. Is that my daughter asked me the other day, has anybody ever asked me to be their girlfriend? And I said, no. And she said, well, if somebody asked you, what would you say? And I said, I'd probably ask them, what does a girlfriend look like to you? What do they do? Right? Because you have to know what they see and what they not what they expect. I don't want to say that. What do they see a girlfriend looking like? What do they see? So the same thing in this space here. What is safe to you right now? Right? Because you're not going to be able to build safety like that, and it's gonna trickle in. It's like you step out of the comfort zone, you come back in. You step out of the comfort zone and come until you come back in. And so, what is safe for you right now? What does that feel like? Like what Jamie said. What does it look like? What are you doing in that space of safety? How are you walking? How are you getting dressed? How are you thinking? What are you eating? Like all of those things play a part in asking yourself, what is safe for me right now?
I love what Stacy put in the chat too. Our bodies will tell us what direction to go, but she also puts this important caveat to it: if we listen.
Yeah, Lorraine can tell you all about my things. Let me tell you.
And of course, this is also happening as well, saying,
Yeah,
but
you know, I will
this
be able to,
this speaks to a very important concept when we are emerging, right? We talked about, there's the Mr. Rogers quote that everyone knows, which is look for the helpers. But I think also sometimes you want to be able to look for the people who can witness, right?
Oh yeah,
And sometimes
absolutely.
we don't want to have to go to someone and say, fix this, do this for me, but at least witness, see me, right? Help me
Mhm.
understand what's becoming clearer as I'm going through this new emergence. And if people cannot hold that space for you, then perhaps they're not the people that are meant to cross that bridge with you. Now, that doesn't mean that you're moving away from them, right? But it just means that you're in order to develop that proper guidance, that inner compass, in order to get this thing set, not just this thing set, right? That felt sense that it's safe, because just like Ray, I'm sure will pop in on this, we cannot define safety for you,
Yeah.
Correct.
but
Yeah.
you can. And
Mhm.
what feels safe for you as you're building this bridge is what you want others to help you see, to help you embody. I know personally, as somebody who's had, I'm sure I'm the only one that has had this happen to, where you have really bad patterns from the past that repeat themselves. I'm sure everyone else just magically
Maybe
heals.
I'm perfect. I have no idea what we're talking about.
But
Jesus.
it's really important that somebody helps me see, and I have the ability to. I used to see that there was a difference between being afraid and feeling safe. And really, they're
Mm,
two different things in the body, right?
yes.
The mind sometimes decides what's unsafe, and it can talk you into thinking, oh, well, I'm afraid of this, I'm afraid of that. But wait, your body is saying, well, maybe I do feel safe. I can move to the next level. I can do this. So checking in with the body to find out whether or not that sense of safety is true for you is a lot different than talking to your fears in your head.
Yeah.
Oh, I might be here every Sunday now. Listen,
Well,
because I can tell you all the stories.
Well, we would love to have you and everybody else here. I realize we're coming up on the end of the hour, and I want to make sure there's some wonderful and thank you. Some people know that between now and next Sunday, I will actually be turning 108 years old. So
Wow,
there's that
be 90
possibility.
I'll be
Uh,
95 this year. So, wow, that's great.
so and Ray, what are those years in the Canadian metric system? Do we need to?
Well, what is it? Times 10, divide by 3, and add 1.
Right.
Oh gosh, I don't do math.
Is there anything that the three of you, the three of us, the two of you would like to add as we kind of wrap this up for
I
folks?
just want to thank Sang and you, Jamie, because and those listening and attending and watching, is this has been what do you call it? An evolution
Hmm.
of what we've been wanting to play with and to
Mhm,
try. Is
mhm,
what would happen if we changed the model and the thinking and we started sharing. And what you did saying is you basically said, what does safety look like? So what does anything look like? And you
mhm,
gave the perfect description. What does it feel like in the body? What's added to it? And others in the chat have added a
mhm,
new dimension, a new perspective. And
mhm,
it creates this collective, as Jamie has mentioned, for those listening, those contributing, and those sharing, essentially. So
mhm.
it's a fun experience, and I think it's very rewarding. So thank you all.
Oh, thank you, Ray. Ray, I watched you last week. You're fantastic. Love
Oh,
being here with you. They had no idea you were in Canada. For some reason, I thought you were in Kansas City. So now that I know that you're way colder than us right now, it's okay.
well, it does get warm eventually.
Yes, I know. My friend lives in Montreal, so yeah, got it.
Right.
I want to say I thoroughly enjoy these conversations. Jamie, it is always an honor and a pleasure to be in the space with
Aw.
you. Drake, it's an honor and a pleasure to be in the space with you, with everybody in the chat. I've learned so much from each and every one of you that are in the chat, whether through an interaction of some sort. And my only ask, in this sense, is to just stop and pause and ask yourself, take some deep breaths, whatever works for you, right? I'm not telling you
Mhm.
you have to take the deep breaths. I'm not telling you have to go do jumping jacks. Do whatever works for you to just take a pause,
Right.
right? Take that pause and go, Just sit with self, allow your body to relax, and then say, okay, now what do I want? And speak to yourself softly. You're your own best friend. Lorene knows about this. Be your own best friend. You wouldn't go into the mirror and talk to yourself that way. So my invitation is to pause and ask yourself, what do you want? My other ask is that if you found something in anything that we've said, I'm asking that you share it with someone else.
Right.
I'm asking that you share this podcast with someone else, not because they need it and you think they should have it, but
Mm-hmm.
because you found something in this that sparked something in you that now you want to share.
And that's very beautiful, because one of the things that I thank you so much, because it's the wonderful summation that that emerged out of the discussion. But it is a central tenet for the work that I do, and some of the things that Ray and I have talked about as well, is that people understand that it's important to scale out. One of the reasons why we want to hold this particular container to have these conversations is to encourage you to incorporate these type of conversations into your own life, right? Because it is through this process of inquiry, exploration, and experimentation that we're learning how to walk between these two worlds, right? Between what we know it hasn't worked for us and what is rising up before us. So we are here every Sunday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, 10 a.m. Central Time. You can do the math. You can watch the replay if you want to, but the magic comes because of the contributions, then the value that you add to this conversation. If you'd like to join us in studio, just as Sang did this week, and Sang, I will hope you will come back. We can, there's lots of rooms in here for circles. There's still some room builders, we can be as tiny as we need to. But if you'd like to be a part of that conversation, you can reach out to us at riseandshinesundays@gmail.com. We actually have a little website right now, which is actually riseandshinesundays.com, where you can also get in contact with us. But the encouragement is to be here for the conversation, right?
Yeah.
To see what emerges. And if you have suggestions of questions that you'd like for us to entertain, we're welcome to your questions, right? Because we're not here to, again, give you answers. We're here to allow you to ask yourself questions to see what emerges for you, right?
We're here to be your guides.
That's right. We are your guides on the side, not
Think
your
of it as
sages.
3 wise men, only they needed a lady.
And there we are. That would probably be the best way to figure it out. I
That's
do
right.
want to thank you, all the people, for being here. Coming up next at the top of the hour on the Breakthrough Show Network is Spirit Sessions, Spirit Sundays, and I think some of us, are the hosts of the Breakthrough Show Network, are going to show up in that particular show. So we thank Jessica and everyone at the Breakthrough Show Network for allowing us this platform to be able to have these conversations. And again, we're so grateful for you all who are here for that conversation. So on behalf of all of us, Ray, Sang, and myself, Jamie Rich, will be back here next week, and we look forward to seeing you then.
Yes, thank you.